In your exchange with Senator Kennedy, you were talking about Section 232, which is really supposed to be used to help national security, but it is under the jurisdiction of the Commerce Department, as you pointed out, with respect to tariffs. Well, last month I visited a New Hampshire company that makes ball bearings for the aerospace industry, and I agree we should be protecting the aerospace industry in this country. It's our biggest export in New Hampshire, aerospace parts. They were very concerned about the impact of the steel tariffs on their ability to get ball bearings. They said not only has their cost gone up, but the lead time to get the steel to make the bearings, they only have one domestic supplier, while they had suppliers in the Indo-Pacific and in Canada. Those have been eliminated under the tariffs. They said that their lead times have gone from 20 weeks to 2.5 years because of the tariffs. I think this creates a real challenge with respect to our national security. About a good percentage of the work they do is with the Department of Defense. It's in the defense industry. So before expanding these tariffs, did the Commerce Department work with the President to evaluate the impact to our national security supply chain? And have you coordinated with the Defense Department? This is an issue that I've also raised in the Armed Services Committee with the Department of Defense, because they don't seem to be aware of what the impact is on the defense industry of these tariffs.
Of course.
You did consult with the Department of Defense? And,
of course.
And what was the determination about how you address those kinds of extended lead times for companies that are producing equipment that's critical to our national security?
It's really a cost issue, not an access issue.
Well, not according to this company in New Hampshire. It's an access issue for them.
Well, that would be illogical, since it's just a tariff which is monetary. It's not a sanction. It's just a monetary one. It would be
well,
more
it affects
expensive.
their ability to get the product, though, to get the steel that they need.
No,
yeah,
it changes
well,
the price point, meaning if you're trying to buy it cheaper, the idea for the administration
well, they don't think, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to tell you what this company in New Hampshire has told me, and that is that their lead times have gone from 20 weeks to 2.5 years. And at that rate, it's hard for me to understand how we can continue to support our defense industry when we don't have the ability to get the supply chain that they need to operate.
The big issue is you can't fight a war without steel and aluminum production in America. You have to be able to make it. If you don't have the ability to make your own steel and aluminum, you can't fight a war. And that is what the president's doing. He's trying to make sure that we make sufficient steel and aluminum to protect our defense industry.
Which I certainly
exactly
support.
What you're
I'm
saying.
sure all of us support.
Sounds like we exactly agree.
But I don't agree on the way it's being done, because we're not going to have the steel that we need immediately to provide the supplies that we need immediately. So we need to do a little better planning before we put in place those kinds of tariffs. But I want to go to another issue.
And I can explain offline how the steel works, but it goes to a spot price. It doesn't change supply, it just changes price. But we'll go over that offline.
Well, let me just say, the company that I've been talking to in New Hampshire understands how it works. And they have a problem. They don't need you to explain it to them. They know, because they've been in business for years. But I want to go to the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, because you suggested that this is something that has not kept up with the technology. In New Hampshire, they're doing additive manufacturing. They're doing AI. They are providing additional technology to help those companies. And so I just want to register my support with what the chair, the ranking member, and others have said about the importance of this program. For every dollar invested in 2023, it returned to $24.60 in new sales growth and $27.50 in new client investment. This is a program that makes a difference for companies in New Hampshire. And at a time when we've seen the third straight month of manufacturing decline in the U.S., it seems to me that we ought to be looking at how we can continue to support those industries and support a program that's been working. So I hope you'll take another look at that and given the bipartisan support for it, that you'll decide that this is something that it's worth keeping because it's helping American companies. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You do know that my Office of the Inspector General cited the MEP as one of the most participating in waste, fraud, and abuse because the leaders of these things were just charging huge salaries for themselves. And one of these offices had like a 90% compensation ratio and others had 60. So the concept is right, but I want you to let our department fix the waste, fraud, and abuse, and let's get back to its core elements, which I think are fine. So we're not arguing about the core elements, but you need to do it correctly.
Well, if I could just respond, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that there may be issues and that we should address those, and it would be helpful to have some transparency around that. I can tell you that in New Hampshire, the head of the MEP program is not making an inordinate salary because we watch that carefully in New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Nice to see you. I appreciate the review that you're doing